Welcome to Let's Talk About It, a podcast where we encourage more candid and unshamed conversations around mental and emotional health. This episode is dedicated to June, which is PTSD Awareness Month. Let me introduce you to our amazing conversationalists. We have Michael Carter, founder of Ruth, Rebuilding Unity Through Healing Hearts. Tanya Cummings, aka DJ Miss Tan, founder of Jacoby's Heart. Monique Smith, your emotional intelligence enthusiast. And Ethel Israel, film producer at Iron Rock Films. Open your ears and your mind. Now, let's talk about it.
Hello, everybody. This is your boy, Andre Pico Train, and we about to do some Let's Talk About It because June is PTSD Awareness Month, and we are here to talk about it. So, y'all basically already know who I am.
Do they?
You know what I'm saying?
Not everybody.
And then I'm going to pass. Let me pass the buck.
Basically?
So, black people. Yes. So, Andre Pico Train, y'all know me as, Dre. Ain't gonna give you my government name because that's illegal to do that. But yes, so PTSD, my name is Dre. 22-year retired disabled veteran from the United States Army. And, I do suffer from PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder that, I encountered while I was serving in the military. And some of it while I was a civilian, a young kid, but I didn't catch it until I actually started noticing what PTSD was. So everybody have some kind of what it is. It's a mental health, somewhat of a disease or injury type thing that, causes dysfunction in your brain that can, make you feel certain ways, anxiety, depression, and things like that. So we're here to talk about it. So if you have a warm and fuzzy or want to know anything about it or feel like you may be suffering with that, we would give you some resources where you can go and get help, have somebody to talk to, because that's the most important thing, is to have someone you can talk to. So I would pass the buck to her. She's going to be the mediator. She's going to be the educator. She's going to be the, what's another word I can give you?
I am the emotional intelligence enthusiast.
That's what she is, the emotional intelligence enthusiast, Ms. Monique.
Hi, everyone. I am Monique Smith, and I am an emotional intelligence enthusiast. And thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm very passionate about what emotional intelligence means to the human, because your emotions drive so much of you. For the last 15 years, I have been an advocate for emotional intelligence, really educating people on the importance of understanding who you are, understanding your triggers, understanding yourself. So with that being said, PTSD Awareness Month is so important to me because, again, your most important asset you have is your mental and emotional health. So I am glad that I was invited, so glad that I was invited to this podcast by Mr. I can't give you government names. Andre Pico Train, to just lend my voice to such an amazing podcast and also such an important topic. So that is who I am, and that is why I'm here, and I'm going to pass it to DJ Miss Tan.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Tanya Cummings, a.k.a. DJ Miss Tan. I gave out my government, because I have two personas here. I have a corporate Tanya Cummings, and then the rest of the time I'm DJ Miss Tan. And I'm also happy to be here, so thank you for inviting me. I'm here to share my story. I've also been diagnosed with PTSD for a different reason other than Andre. My son was murdered in 2018, and it's an ongoing thing for me. My sister was murdered in 2020. And so now I've started a foundation, which is Jacoby's Heart, which speaks to children who have lost siblings. So that's my thing today, to promote Jacoby's Heart for any siblings that have lost siblings, and just to really give people inspiration on what Miss Monique was saying, to have emotional intelligence to learn to live through it. Not everybody fares the same after being diagnosed with PTSD, and I just think that I'm very fortunate through the grace of God and the universe and just how He built me that I'm able to still make it. So thank you for inviting me.
Indeed. Is your other name Resilient? Because resiliency is definitely part of your DNA.
Thank you.
Amen.
I am Ithiel Yisrael. I'm a film producer at Iron Rock Films. I started a documentary on childhood, the societal impact of childhood sex abuse. And in the course of those interviews, I began to see the mental health impact of sex abuse on many of the survivors I interviewed, I spoke to. There are members of my family who have been through that, and I've been exposed to their mental health issues as a result of their trauma. And my family lost a member of our unit as a result of mental health issues. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about what I've learned and to encourage those who are have been traumatized, those who are struggling with mental clarity, self-esteem, or confidence issues, or just keeping a very tight grasp on reality, to seek help and to find someone you can talk to, someone that can help you get through that.
Awesome.
Now, with that being said, you all have your own moments and triggers, but PTSD looks different to everyone, right? So, with that being said, so I have to call you Andre?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But no, you can call me Mike.
Mike, what does PTSD mean to you? Because it's just an acronym until you say post-traumatic stress disorder, right? So what does post-traumatic stress disorder mean to Michael?
To me, it means I called it a disease at one time because it was a dysfunction in my brain from trauma that I've dealt with, in the past. I was blown up twice. A couple of my guys were killed. I just things I've seen that, I have nightmares about, friends that I've lost, and I was there when they was, killed tragically. So it's a stress disorder that causes me to act a certain way, abnormal activity that I've never dealt with before in my life. So I never noticed it, because I thought it was normal. And me being in the military, I always took it as combat stress. It was just part of what I do.
Normalized.
Yeah,
normalized.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So I never looked at it as it being something that kind of changed me and made me look different. I didn't notice it, but other people noticed it. It ruined my marriage. It ruined a lot of relationships that I was in, and it's still doing it to this day. But, I'm able to cope with it in certain ways where it helps me but may not help somebody else. You know what I'm saying? But I have to figure it out on my own. So it's hard for me to try to bring people into my life to deal with the things that I go through, the nightmares, the anger, the just getting upset. But I'm able to deal with it on my own terms. So in order for me to have somebody to accept that,
you have to be selfish with yourself.
I do. You know what I'm saying? I do, and it's hard, but it works.
Yes.
Because I got to fix it on my own.
It's a hard
you know what I'm
balance.
saying? Yeah. So I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I tell people that in the process. So if you want to deal with it, deal with it. But if you don't, I gave you the option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It comes with sacrifice as well.
Yes.
You have to be willing to sacrifice, to be selfish for yourself. And that's deep when you think about that. I have to sacrifice other relationships to be selfish with myself in order to cope with what I know to be my trauma. And that doesn't look the same for everyone.
Right.
And so, Ms. Tam, what about you? Because again, separate, he has flashbacks, he has nightmares. What about
you? I was very surprised when I was diagnosed with PTSD because we have a hindering belief that you have to go to war. Mm-hmm. You have to be a veteran or a soldier to have that diagnosis. And I fought it at first, you know. It was such a stigma, like, you know, no, I'm just sad. You know, my son is dead. Like, what do you mean? And just like you said, Monique, to say those words or what those letters mean, and you look it up and you recognize it is exactly what's happening to you, along with the grief, along with the depression. So for me, I think, well, I know now that my sister was murdered, that God had me in shock.
But wait a minute, did you say your sister was murdered?
Yeah.
At first you said your son.
So my son in 2018, my sister was just murdered in December 2020. So the irony to that is, you know, like I was saying, I was in shock. So I didn't want to, you know, take any medicines. I mean, so many things that surround it, around it, that says you're not surviving. You're not able to deal with what happened to you. And the way I was raised, you pray. And God's going to cover everything. Ain't no medicine, no man, no drugs, no sex, no, you know, rock and roll, as my grandmother used to like to say. That's going to help you through that. So I was in shock, and I fought it, and then it just took over me to the point of where I had to just lay there,
couldn't move,
cry, and accept that my world had changed due to no fault of my own, due to no choice of my own. And the guilt that you feel as a mother when you lose a child is overwhelming as well. You shoulda, coulda, woulda yourself to death. So that's going to send you into another spiraling deep place. Then you watch your child suffer the loss of her brother, and his dad just kind of wither away because he doesn't want to deal with it. So like you said, you have to be selfish. Well, I'm a born people pleaser.
Yeah, me agree.
So
yeah.
And you didn't even have to just do it. You had a child.
Yeah.
And family.
And he had a 9-month-old that,
wow,
you know, to this day, you know, she don't know what it means that her dad is in heaven, so you have to deal with that too. But to the point that you made, if it's not in your DNA to be a selfish person,
it's hard. And
you were the one taking care of everybody. Now it's no one to take care of you, and people are accusing you of being selfish. People are accusing you of being standoffish and having an attitude during your son's funeral, and just the things that they say to you, because they're used to you being DJ Miss Tan.
Yes.
Like, where is she?
Yes.
She's not there anymore. It forever changes you.
Can you talk a little bit about the awareness part, both of you, Mike, if you can? Just how did you come to know you had PTSD? What was going on with you in life that brought you to that understanding?
Or that trigger?
Yeah, no, I told you I was in denial. So to me, I was just sad. So the psychiatrist told me that's what I had, you know. So it wasn't really an awareness until I looked it up and was like, yeah, that fits.
But something brought you to the psychiatrist, though. So
the death of my child. So I had to go in order to get disability, really. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't go because that first year I partied like a rock star. You know what I'm saying?
Suppression.
Yeah, I mean, he died 8 days before my birthday, and I'm a birthday person. So my friends threw me a big party. I had a big party 2 days before his funeral. The day of his funeral, I threw a party for my family. I was still DJing. I wanted everybody to be okay. I wanted everybody to be happy. I didn't want anybody to be sad. So I didn't feel it, you know. You know, I'm in a class now, and it talks about feel, deal, heal. I didn't feel it, you know. It took me a while. And, you know, after I just didn't have any joy with anything, it was kind of like routine, it was robotic, and I just couldn't get no satisfaction out of anything. Then I realized, you know,
this is not who I am.
This might be something to what she was saying. But I think the awareness mine is forced on me. Like, it wasn't something I go, oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it is what it is. And I just have to make the best of it, really.
Yeah. So, like with me, you always hear about it, like Ms. Tan said about, it being a military thing, which is really not, because, I know someone told me the other day, and me and Tan was talking, it was this book they got, post-traumatic slave disorder. So all of us deal with it. But with me, the awareness was that, I never looked at it as PTSD. I'm a soldier. You know what I'm saying? And to me, it was like, I looked at it as a form of weakness if I go sit in front of somebody and complain about something I signed up to do. You know what I'm saying? Like a job of mine, and I train to go out here, and I know the consequences. It's just like if I go commit a robbery, I know the consequences. I know if I commit a robbery, I can get caught and go to prison. So now if I go to combat and I get shot or see somebody get killed or get blown up or whatever, I'm going to come back with these, dysfunctions in my brain or something I never seen before in life. I never seen nobody get their brain blown up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never seen that. But I talk about it now because it's, I can be transparent. Everybody know my mouth. So when my ex-wife was like, looking at me different and saying certain things and noticing my anger, and then my kids looking at me different, noticing my anger, I was like, man, wait a minute. Something might be wrong with me. And then, the alcohol suppressed everything. You know what I'm saying? The alcohol was that comfort zone. The alcohol was my coping mechanism to where it just blocked out everything. So I never noticed it because I was drunk half the time. You know what I mean? So once I figured out and said, hey, dude, you know what I'm saying? You really need to get some help. So they put me in the Wounded Warrior when I was injured. They put me in the Wounded Warrior course, and once I was there and they brought it to light, I was a rebellious dude. So I was in the hospital for 6 months, you know what I'm saying, for PTSD. And I was very rebellious. I didn't talk to nobody because no one in there was combat arms, just me. So when I hear their stories, and that's what made me realize that, dude, you know what I'm saying, this ain't just because you combat armed. People suffer with PTSD different. Sexual trauma, mental trauma. Just because they ain't been blown up or shot at don't mean that they're not going through nothing. So I had to understand that. So when I went in there, I told them folks, I'm like a car. You know what I'm saying? I got the tools, some of the tools to fix what I need to fix, but you guys are the professionals. Yeah. So I need to bring my car in here, park it in y'all, and let y'all take me apart and put me back together. So when I started listening, and they did the mind, what is the mind thing where you close your eyes and you mindfulness. So we started doing the mindfulness. So we had to close our eyes, and they start talking and telling us, okay, what do you see? All I could see was darkness. Then when I started focusing, I started seeing blood. And so I would open my eyes and I would get mad and I would leave because I wasn't participating. But once I started participating, that's when I realized I have a problem. So now they force you to talk about it when you really don't. I never really talked about it. You know what I'm saying? So I kept it suppressed so long that, it exploded sometime. So once I talked about it and felt comfortable with talking about it, it was much easier.
For me, it just... I'm looking in the things that you two are saying for jewels or gems that maybe I can use, and maybe people listening can use to maybe identify something going on with them that should push them to
seeking help.
I've had 2 family members go from what appeared to be normal states of existence to a point in which they had lost control of their mind, talking to themselves, laughing at themselves, this kind of stuff. And nowhere in between the normal and the point in which they seem crazy, as a terrible term for describing that. Yes. We had no idea that something switched off or went wrong. So it's like, is there something we can identify or that a person can identify?
So this is the best panel ever. Look at the contrast between what me and Dre have experienced. No one knows this about me. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody, I have had a child that was murdered, but on social media, I'm functional. In regular life, I'm functional. I still go to work. I still take care of my daughter. I still take care of my granddaughter. I still DJ. I still entertain. I still do plays. I did a play months after he was killed. So it takes effect differently. It's nothing that you can say, hey, he was blessed that he had someone to tell him. People think I'm just resilient. People think I'm a walking miracle. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't manifest the same in anyone. So there's not what I hear that you're having is a little guilt because you didn't notice something, that you weren't able to intervene and help someone. And I want to release you from that because it's not nothing you can see. It has many different faces. I know parents that have gotten on heroin after their children died. They literally laid down, could not do anything else. It was just that bad for them.
And a lot of times we're talking about PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress syndrome, right? When you're talking about mental illness, and again, I'm not a doctor, but one thing about mental illness is sometimes certain illnesses that are mental don't show up in adults until later in life, until something happens to them that triggers something in their brain that says, I've been here and now I'm awake, right? So we see PTSD, we got to always recognize this as post, because something happened to you. So a lot of times with mental illness, people, they don't know. They function, they're walking, and they are okay. And then there's something that triggers something in them. And that's why when it comes down to your emotional and mental state, it's so severe that we understand and are aware of our triggers, because that is exactly what post-traumatic stress is. There was a trigger. You can see something. He could see red and have a trigger. You know what I mean? And one thing when Michael was talking about, when he said, well, you know, I saw people's brain get blown up. That's not normal, but it's normal to him. And so if you're saying that to someone else, that's not normal to the average human, right? But it's normal to him. So it's important to recognize that when we're talking about mental and emotional health, because you can't have mental health and not have some emotional issues. Like if your mental is bad, your emotional will be traumatic, right? So to go to your point, when you say, you know, is it something you see? A lot of times it's just a trigger, and we hear people losing it, right? Or going off and no one saw it coming. That's just the reality of it. Sometimes you just don't know.
But also, it manifests itself if you see a person that becomes highly sexual, or if they start to eat poorly.
Certain actions.
It's not like what we think. They're going to be crying and sad. They could be extra happy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you're like, you know, why are you so happy all the time? Which sounds weird, but if that's not that person's personality, sometimes their personality changes. You have functional alcoholics. You have functional drug users. You have functional PTSD people too, who just automatically know how to cover it up. They feel it and they don't want to deal with it, and they know how it would appear to act normal, so that's what they do. But inside, it's just messing them up. And a lot of things that people blame on PTSD and actual traumas happening are also hormonal imbalances. There's things that go on in your body that's medical that make these mental things go wrong in your brain, and your body just can't handle it, and that's what comes out too. So it's so many faces.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Because I had after my son, my son was premature. He was 1 pound. I had him at 6 months. And I had depression after all of that, like during the course of going to the neonatal unit, NICU, let me just say. And I didn't know that I had depression until I hit a wall, right? And when I hit that wall, I'm talking, y'all, I hit that wall to the point that my mom wanted to have me committed, because I was walking and I was functioning until I had a trigger. I went in, I'm looking at my child, looking for him, and he's on a ventilator. And I'm thinking, oh, he was getting ready to come home. He was 1 pound. I was getting excited. And he said he had a staph infection, and I lost it. And they banned me from the hospital. I'm not going to tell you what for. Didn't know people can get banned from hospitals. Whoa. However,
One of them triggers.
that was my trigger. And I refused at the time to get on any type of medication because I said to myself, and my family vouched for this, I'm supposed to feel this way.
Correct.
You're not going to suppress how I supposed to feel. So I was even an emotional wreck, and I went to the library in the hospital while I was sitting waiting for him, and that is when I discovered emotional intelligence. It's like, okay, I'm a human, but I am a petri dish, and my nervous system makes something tick. My nervous system runs my brain. My brain is my emotions. And I discovered if I can learn how to control my emotions, I can then control my mindset. And I got to that point because I hit a wall.
Yeah.
And that is how I got introduced to emotional intelligence, because I was so reactive.
Yeah.
So reactive.
It's funny. Go ahead.
As a result of the tragedies that my family endured, I am more asking that question I asked earlier for myself, because I am withdrawn to some degree. There are moments I have never really cried a lot in my life as a whole, to the degree that some of my family members thought that I lacked emotion. And after what's happened recently, you know, I am just taking a shower. I think I'm fine, and then boom, there's a moment. And they're coming frequent enough that I'm just like, is this normal? Does this make sense? I think I have less patience. I think I might get a little frustrated, or just I don't feel very motivated to engage in anything that may seem emotionally heavy, like dealing with a spouse or a female or whatever.
You're there.
I'm less
coming along.
likely to want to engage. So I was like, and knowing that I have family members that have crossed that line and ended up, in a place of mental illness, I want to catch it before I end up there. I just like, I'm just trying to be aware of myself. So that's the reason I pose that question.
You're there.
Well, I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing, because you have self-awareness, whether you know it or not. This feels a little something, when some people don't even, recognize that this is a little off. For me, I'm going to tell you something funny. I was thinking about your triggers or whatever. Mine is when the phone rings, because I was at work and I got a phone call that my son was shot. So people can't call me late at night. I'm like, hello, what done happened? Because now I've got it from my son, my sister, December 2020, and now my mom just went to sleep June 5th and didn't wake up. She just laid down and died. So phone calls for me send me into a frenzy. So it's simple things, maybe the water is cleansing for you. I'm not a doctor either, but I just thought it was so beautiful that it happened in the shower. Yeah. You never know why certain things are happening for you at that time.
And that's part. Emotional intelligence, there are four quadrants, right? Self-awareness. You have situational awareness, self-management, and you just hit the self-management. And you also have social skills. When you start seeing a decline in those areas, and that is exactly what you just talked about, that is when you know that your emotional state is shifting. And that is exactly what you're now recognizing. That's
good.
This dude.
No, it is.
That
it's
is
really
actually
good.
shifting. And with that being said, now you can try to find a way to make it okay to talk about it, right? Make it okay with yourself to just say, I'm not okay, and I deserve to be okay. That's on you.
Okay, somebody's asked a question related to what you just said, and it is, how do you find a way to talk about your issues without being or feeling like you're a burden to everyone else around you.
You got to find someone you trust. And sometimes it's not your
village.
family.
You have a village.
Yeah, I would tell you, just like the conversation we're having, you know, all of us went through something.
Yeah.
I used to always have this thing that what can a person, how can someone understand me that hasn't been through it? So even when we go talk to psychiatrists, you know, nothing against psychiatrists, they great at what they do. But sometimes some people feel like if you haven't been through the same, you can give me the technical and the book answer to everything. But when I leave you, I have to go home.
Right.
And when I go home, I have to deal with it.
Right.
So there are exercises that they give you and things like that. But are we really going to do the exercises?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we so stuck in trying to figure out how to do it on your own.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was strong enough to be able to do it. So I learned this thing called understanding, and I use that every time. I have to understand how to deal with certain things because I have an understanding of what I went through. I have an understanding of how to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? I have an understanding of how to cope with it. So I would talk to people, you know what I'm saying, because you never know. Just like how, you know, Ms. Tan said, you know, people can look at you and say, ain't nothing wrong with him because he's smiling every day, he's doing this, he's doing that. But they don't know, you know, when you go home, what's going on. So you never know that person that you're talking to might be going through something at that moment. And you just saying that joke can jump up and say, you know what, bruh, I was about to kill myself because of this and this and this and this. And because you just said that to me, and you'll look at him and say, bro, you don't look like it, that you'll be that type of person. And he'll be like, you never know.
What does that even look like?
Correct.
Yeah.
What does it look like, right?
Right.
Until you, a lot of people, man, it's crazy because so many people are going through so much. I never knew that about Tan until I met her. Me and her sat down and talked. You know, I've been there with you. You know what I'm saying? So I know yours. You know what I'm saying? Me and Moni talked, and I knew. You know what I'm saying? Because we talked, but just me and her sitting there talking.
This dude, listen,
you know what I'm saying?
you're not
it
normal.
Works.
It's like the Robin Williams thing. You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody thought he was fine.
Correct.
And then he committed suicide. And
Yes.
But
nobody
here's the
put that
thing.
together.
I think to piggyback on what Mike said about your question is you got to let go of the fear of what it looks like
And the judgment.
if something's wrong with you.
judgment.
Before you can receive any type of progress, you got to let go of what that looks like, especially for you being a man. You have to know that it doesn't make you weak.
Strong.
It doesn't make you unable to deal. It doesn't make you unable to function, but holding it in will eventually.
Destroyed.
It will make
Yeah.
you sick.
It will. It
and,
will.
and it's important to recognize something too, that your nervous system, how you feel, how you think, controls every part of your body. When you get to a point where you start breaking out in hives and you don't know what's wrong, or you sweating for no particular reason, when your body starts talking to you, you then have to be real selfish with yourself, right? And say, okay, I'm gonna take care of me, because no one can do it for you. It's almost like intervention. Like with intervention, you can, man, listen, you can take a family member to an intervention center. You can try to help them. If they don't want to get help for themselves, it's not going to work.
No.
And so that's where that selfish part, and I believe we got to normalize being selfish for ourselves.
Yes.
Like, we don't normalize that enough because we're such giving humans, right? You want to make people laugh. You want to make people smile. But what about saying, I want to make me smile. I want to make me laugh. And sometimes that may be by yourself. And we got to normalize saying, you know what, today's not my day. I don't want to do you today. I want to do humans. And just sit by yourself and do you. And we don't do that enough because people say, oh, you acting funny. Well, let me act funny.
We also have to normalize that everybody doesn't handle everything the same way. My best friend from high school, her son was murdered as well. And the thing that freed me is when she said, don't let people tell you how to deal. I've been through the same thing you've been through, and I can't even tell you how to deal. It's about what Monique is saying, knowing who you are and what you need to deal. I mean, you may need to keep doing multiple films to deal. You can't let somebody else tell you just stop making films for a while and not do it. You may need to lay down and be by yourself. You may need to be at a party and host and cook for your friends like I do. Whatever that makes you happy, even if it is just for that moment, I say indulge, because other moments you're suffering from trying to survive through what you're going through or what you're feeling. And another thing, I hate when people say, you probably will never get over it. You just learn how to deal differently. You have to accept that you are forever changed. You are a different person, and that was hard for me because people just did not want me to change. They just did not understand, because, I had people that would get upset because they see me traveling, DJing, and then I wouldn't talk on the phone for days. And they were like, I just saw you on Facebook. I needed to be on Facebook for that moment. I've had people that tell me, maybe you need to stop posting for a little while. But if I post one time and it's 24 hours in the day, what did I do the other 24 hours and 59 minutes? Because it only takes 1 minute to post.
There you go.
So it's about, and that was very hard for me. That was very, very hard for me. And I constantly had people tell me, just do you. My son, before he died, that was the last thing he told me, YOLO, mama. My own children know that I will give away everything to the detriment of myself. So now that I'm grieving, now that I'm suffering, I have to keep whatever I have left for me and be okay with that.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yes.
I think the fact that people even have to consider whether or not they should take care of self is reflective of where maybe our public mental health is.
Yes.
Correct.
On a public scale.
On point. Facts.
Because taking care of you should be priority number one, no matter what the situation is. If you're not all right, you can't really take care of the people.
You know where that comes from? Forgive me for anybody that disagrees. Religion. It was embedded in me as a Baptist, as a holiness, to give everything to God and the church and the world so you can get into heaven. So it's something that has to be deprogrammed.
Yes.
Because you feel so wrong. And my parents, I took care of my parents. I never got a chance to be a child. You know what I'm saying? Wow. So there's an inner child in me that's suffering from PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm
Your
saying?
environment.
There is a college girl that had trauma that was never addressed. You know what I'm saying? So it starts from our childhood. So it is so much that you have to deprogram to even deal with what happened today.
That is so
You know
true.
what I'm saying? You got to be whole from that stuff, because there's more stuff that's going to happen. And in the way the world is made, that's it's going to keep happening. So that's why I feel like some people just lay down and say, forget this.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much to
It's too
manage. I
much.
got to manage your feelings, my feelings, they feelings.
Just forget about this.
It is. And I had a nurse. It was a nurse in the hospital. It was after my son got his own nurse after my little incident. They assigned him a nurse. We ain't gonna go into that. But she looked at me because I was trying to be that person, right? My mom didn't know what to do with a premature baby. My dad felt sorry for me. My sisters felt, everybody was and I was trying, we're going to be okay. Me, you, like as a family, we're going to be okay. That nurse looked at me, she said, look at here, sweetie. If you're not okay, he ain't okay.
Yeah.
So the moment you realize sometimes you may not need to come to this hospital every day. Yeah. He ain't going nowhere. You can sit there and look at that little oxygen thing beep, beep, and get that melody in your head and go home. But guess what? If you ain't okay, he ain't going to be okay. So when we lay that baby, they do this thing called kangarooing, where they take him out the incubator and they lay him on your chest. And she said, he feels everything you feel. Everything you feel. And if you worrying about that weight and you trying to lose weight, he eating what you eating. So if you ain't okay, you his temple. How you think he gonna grow? So I suggest you go to get that steak and shake that you wanted
and enjoy it.
Your little baby gonna be anorexic before he get out of the NICU unit.
Yeah, it's tough.
And listen, that moment changed my life.
Yeah.
And I used to tell my family, look, first of all, I come first, not him. Me. Because if I'm no good, I can't be no good to him.
Yeah.
And that's where my self-care journey came in.
Love yourself.
Love of self. And not just say it, but say, I'm going to be selfish with me
Feel
in
it.
order to be able to be there for everyone else.
There's 3 things I tell my kids, and that is, in this order, I said, there's 3 things you remember every day of your life. I said, God, yourself, and your family. And in that order, you take care of each thing. God, in the sense that you give thanks and you're grateful, you take care of you, and you take care of your family. And that is whatever you can give to your people, because if you empty, there's nothing you can give.
So you going to eat them? You going to eat them words for yourself?
You're going to be in a deficit.
This is why.
That's the worst place to be.
That's why I'm here.
You're going to eat them words for yourself.
tell
That's
you
what. Yeah, because see, you giving it to your kids.
Yeah, when
But
you're
what
in a
about
deficit,
yourself?
that's the worst place to be. It's the worst feeling. It's so empty. Nothing feels good. Sex, drinking, music. When you're in a deficit, I can just tell you, it's just there. You know?
Yeah, and people got to understand your emotions. You know what I'm saying? When it's hard for you to show them.
Do they really have to understand?
A little bit. I think they should.
I think if you take that stance, though, for me, that people should understand is what hurts me.
Okay. Well, to me,
I don't think it should. It's just a compassion thing.
Yeah, it's real. They should.
To me, I want you to understand.
Yeah, me too.
I want you to understand, but I know it's hard for them because I've never been in your situation. I've never been in your situation, but I can imagine. You know what I'm saying? And I'm able to cope with mine very well, I feel. You know what I'm saying? Other people may look at me and say yes or no, but I feel I am. You know, all of us know, you know, when Chris passed away or whatnot, you know, me and Chris was real tight. You know, and when he passed away, it kind of brought back a whole lot of memories, you know what I'm saying, of things. And then, you know, when I would look at pictures and videos of, you know, how me and him used to clown and all that stuff, and, you know, how much I'm going to miss this cat, you know, it tried to depress me, but I couldn't let it do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I kind of know how to handle it. But, you know, when I got everything out, like you know, we went out, you know, and celebrated a little bit, you know, because my sister got, you know, proposed to on the night prior to him passing away. And I broke down. I got drunk as, you know, I was walking. I picked up the bottle again. I drank a whole bottle of Hennessy. And I'm walking down the street.
And your liver says no thank you.
It says, get it away. But I did. You know, my brother and them, they was out there. My sisters was out there. And we all came out. And they knew what I was going through. But I had a unit. Is what you said. I had my support system there to support me. So they was there. So you have to have a support system. And my family is my support system. My kids make me so happy. I try to do so much with them and for them. You know what I'm saying? And they understand my anger because when I was in the hospital in February, I went for 2 weeks in Atlanta, Georgia for intensive treatment for PTSD. And one of the exercises that they gave us was that to call your family and kind of have them explain to you what they saw. And I didn't want to do it in front of the people, you know what I'm saying, because that's none of their business to me, you know what I'm saying, and you know, that's not my thing. I'm not finna get emotional in front of these people that I don't really know. So, you know, I called my ex-wife and I called my kids, and all my kids was online with me, and my ex-wife, well, my 2 sons and my ex-wife. So they kind of, you know, we was on a Zoom call, and we sat there, and you know, they told me the effects that my PTSD had on them. You know what I'm saying? And my kids were like, you know, they said it bothered us, Daddy, but we know. You know what I'm saying? They was like, you know, I cried because my kids was like, they didn't go in on me or nothing like that. They was like, Daddy, we understand.
They were honest.
Yeah. And we was like, right. And it made me feel good, but I cried. And then my ex-wife kind of, you know, she told me the effects that it had on her, how it would act when I used to get drunk, come home pissed off, doing this, staying out late at night, just doing crazy stuff. I used to punch holes in walls, used to throw lamps, you know, at her. And she told me about this stuff.
Feel free.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then it was great, man, at that moment. So after that, you know, we talked a little bit and just had the conversation. I was like, I thank y'all.
Wow.
because that helped.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So once you got that support system and you got people around you, it ain't got to be a family member. It can be us.
So it's also going to be trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people that hurt me when I finally opened up to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to be selective, but the people that you may choose may hurt you in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I used to take it really personal. It's just like, I did so much for these people, and they don't know how to take care of me. Now, my stance is, they just don't know.
Right.
You know, they're just ignorant to the fact of what I need. So I just keep moving to the next person, and just over the last 3 years, have basically built my team that I know who I can go to, who I can call, and I don't want. He's in a better place. I don't want God knew best. I don't want no cliches. They know what I need, and they provide me with what I need. But in that process, I lost a lot of friends. You know, I lost a lot of companions that said there was nothing that they chose to deal with, and that's just the way that it is. You know, I was already difficult to deal with beforehand because of who I am. You know, that's another story for another podcast because I'm very sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Some people may call it something else, but I ain't gonna mention that right now.
Right.
But
Is that when you were Miss Tan, or is that the DJ Miss?
that's another persona that I can't speak on, and this podcast is not appropriate. But yeah, so you know, it's a process.
It is,
and it's a painful process to build your village. But once you build it, it's a great foundation. And sometimes your village won't be available, so you're gonna have to have self-soothing techniques.
Yes,
You're gonna have to have things that are healthy that you soothe yourself with in the event, because everybody got something going on, right?
I was just about to
So you may have a large village and you call everybody in that particular day. It may only be God that you can deal with.
Yes.
It may only be an ice cream cone for that time, and then you go walk it off, you know, that you can deal with. But don't punish yourself when you're already being punished with the trauma that you have experienced. And I did a lot of self-punishment that I had to truly, truly stop in order to continue to function at a level that is not acceptable for everybody, but acceptable for me.
Yeah, and knowing that village of support, that is so important, because I would say I was blessed to hit my wall early in life, right? I hit my wall in college, and that's when I started therapy, was in college, when I woke up one morning and couldn't stop crying. And I did not know what was wrong with me. I just literally could not stop crying. Trying to work 3 jobs, you know, go to school, didn't really have that support. I had my sisters and my mom, but it just wasn't the same. And my counselor told me I needed to see a therapist. And my therapist is the one that opened up my eyes to the fact of, you got to first trust yourself before you trust someone else. Because you're going to people thinking and feeling that they're supposed to know what's good for you, when in the back they're struggling with themselves. So is that selfish of you, or is that selfish of them? Because they're struggling with themselves and don't feel open enough to tell you, right? Right. So that was my moment, because I was blaming people for not being there for me. And that thing hurt me like you. Man, I was there for them. I did this for them. I was always that person. And then when I hit my wall and had my last pack of noodles in college, couldn't find nobody for nothing, right? I felt betrayed.
Yeah.
And when she told me that, it changed my life, because I'm like, I don't know what these people are going through.
Mine is crazy because I haven't hit a wall yet.
I hit twice.
I'm kind of
that's why
like,
my forehead's so big.
Don't say that, Mike. Does everybody literally? Can I just be blessed that I'm not going to hit that wall? Because I do wonder. I do thank God all the time that I haven't, just stopped. So I'm like, I'm kind of afraid that one day I am. Like, am I going to start crying in the shower?
We just want you to be prepared when you do.
But if I'm just saying, I never hit it though. You got to understand something.
I mean, I cry, holler, and scream. Maybe my wall looks different, and I want it to look like somebody else's.
Listen,
I take that back.
When I say hit a wall, it's normally like everybody's, like you said, everybody PTSD symptoms or what they go through is different. That wall is different for everybody, right? So that's just a metaphor of that moment where you just like, okay, something's not right. He hit that wall when he said, okay, I'm feeling a certain type of way.
Yeah.
It's not a physical. I mean, I think one time I did hit a wall, and it forehead first. Literally. However, that wall you hit does not look the same for everybody.
Well, maybe it's just when I just laid on the couch for a year.
You know,
that wall looked different.
When I was on my third bag of potato chips for the day, and I had about 7 cakes, or if I don't feel nothing going on down there, like I don't feel anything. Like, hey, hold on. Wait a minute.
I think mine was blessed. Maybe mine happened during COVID, and it kind of coincided with
that wall.
COVID was one of the
everybody's wall is different.
Yeah.
And for a man, you know, when this ain't in order, that don't work.
But then some of them it works overtime when this ain't in order too. Some of them can't get enough.
For the record, it works. I want to be clear.
Because, hey, they'll so give you medication, man. And all that medication you pumping in you be like, hold on, I ain't about to put this
such
mic
a
on.
man.
Oh, Jimmy might not work no more.
Monique, he's such a man. Wait, for the record, it works. Hold up. For the record, it works.
Had to let you know that.
I'll put that out there.
Look, and we'll go back to it works different for everyone. It works different for everyone. Really right. It seriously works. That looks different for everyone. Not everyone sees it the same way, sir.
Hey.
Understood.
So, you know, we got about 15 minutes left. So,
do you hear that? It sounds like crickets.
Yeah, that's the little sign. So we got about 15 minutes left. So, what I want to kind of, you know, talk about is coping mechanisms.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I know with me, as we were just talking about earlier, you know, the village, you know, me being, you know, part military, and all my brothers that I have, you know, 22 years, I've developed a whole lot of friends. You know what I'm saying? And we've all been to the same duty stations. We've all deployed together. We've all been to the, and we still have a bond to this day. So it's a camaraderie that can never be broken. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm feeling some type of way, I can call them. You know what I'm saying? One of my brothers, when he first retired, he was going through it. You know what I'm saying? And he wanted to kill himself.
I remember that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And he really, he was going through it. And he was like, bro, I keep seeing dead bodies. And, you know, he was worrying about, you know, the soldiers that left, and he wanted to kill himself, right? So I told him, I've been there. You know what I'm saying? I put a gun in my head twice and wanted to kill myself and take my life. But then I had to think about the selfishness of that, you know what I'm saying? Because he has a family. He has a, you know, beautiful wife, beautiful kids and stuff like that. And you'll be leaving them with nothing. Right. You know what I'm saying? You are that backbone that they need to take care of them. You know, and I had to think about my kids and stuff like that. But my family, you know what I'm saying? I try not to break bonds with nobody. If we have an issue, like, you know, that one time me and you was on the phone for about 4 or 5 hours, you know, and we talked about it, because life is too short to sit up there and hold a grudge against somebody for petty stuff and stupid stuff that we can talk about and explain it to one another and be like, okay, I got a better understanding. So I figured out ways to cope. I travel. You know what I'm saying? I go see my friends that are wherever they are, and we have a great time when I see them at that moment. And I got to stay busy. If I slow down, my brain slows down.
Yeah.
And when my brain slows down, there it go. And I'm like, oh, Lord, here we go. And I'm like, I got to get up. I got to move. And you know what I'm saying? It can be a good and it can be a bad, because it's like, I thought about it the other day. I said, if I stop, what if I get old and can't do what I do no more? I'm going to go crazy. Because I got to
take that back out of the atmosphere. We all take it back.
Right. I got
will not go crazy.
That's right. I was just about to say that. And I know that word coping is what people use, but I like saying I'm surviving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're choosing to be here. You're choosing the path of wellness. And so when I hear coping, you know, I understand why people use coping, but I like the fact that you're surviving. And that's what you are doing every day. when you're talking about coping mechanisms, I always tell people, go to the National Alliance of Mental Illness. NAMI, N-A-M-I, National Alliance of Mental Illness. They have so many different workshops in different cities and states and that you can go to and find like-minded people. I truly believe in circles, even for any type of addiction, find like-minded people, you know what I mean, that can really, you can share your story with unapologetically, right?
Correct.
I think that's very important. And also, for me, my coping mechanism is truly my family, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I have some cousins and my sisters where we have like a group of women who were just down for each other. And we decided to break the generational curses of our moms and dads by just saying, you know what, we're going to choose happy. So if y'all don't like each other, have at it.
Are y'all accepting members at this time?
We are accepting new members. Because what I found as well is that blood,
yes,
blood ain't always thicker. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And I found that when you have that circle, we just made it our decision to say, you know what, we're not doing that. We want to be happy. We don't want to have those generational curses of all that mental anguish carrying over with us. So we make sure that we take trips together. We make sure that we support each other and our kids, champion each other on a regular basis, and have someone to talk to. And so we decided that together, and it's been going wonderful. Yeah. Actually, when we said, you know what, no more going back and forth with people. Right. Spend our time focusing on what makes us as a unit happy, because one year we lost like 5 or 6 family members. It was like back to back, right? And I just realized that, in order for us to be okay individually, we got to, 1, take care of ourselves, find out what your thing is, and let us know what it is so we can support you in that. So if you need to take a trip by yourself, we're going to support you in that. You know what I mean?
So mine's a little different because I'm just starting. I also don't like coping because it sounds like you're not. So mine is live through it, which I actually have part of my podcast and T-shirts. What I'm doing is living through it. So how I live through it is I like Cheetos. Everybody knows that about me, but instead of buying the family bag, I buy the smaller bags, and I eat them slower. So what I do is indulge in things that I like just a little bit, so that I won't overindulge, and then it has an opposite effect to come back and bite me. Because of what I do, if I put on weight, or, Mike and I have talked about the different things around it, because I'm a female in the industry, it can affect me in a way that it won't allow me to do things that I like as far as act or, just be active. So I try to just balance everything. I mean, my girlfriend has taught me a term is be kind to myself. You know what I'm saying? If I decide to do some things, that people would not, think are ladylike, to be kind to myself and know that I'm human. So I don't put a stipulation or a list on, I'm going to travel this day, I'm going to go shopping this day, I'm going to do this. Whatever that day, and I feel like doing that day,
I'm going to do it.
I do it.
That's right.
And if I don't feel like doing anything, that's the hardest part, is telling people no and not doing anything. That is my biggest challenge, to just lay there, because I'm like Mike, and I think we have the same artist mind. We sing, we act, and we are creative. So when that space is empty, it's got a lot of noise, a lot of static, a lot of, what can we do with this? Can we do this? And I'm learning to do absolutely nothing with it. And it's hard.
Oh, yeah.
It is hard.
Oh, yeah.
But the rewards that I reap from learning that it's okay, and that really it is, for me, not okay to keep going, because what mine manifested is they thought I had lupus. The inflammation in my body, is what reacted from everything. So we went through all these tests and all these different things, and I went to the doctor. She says it's just fibromyalgia. You're depressed. Your body is reacting, and you aren't. So you got to learn to just rest. You got to learn to exercise. You got to learn to stretch. Just simple things, going to get a massage. It's very, very simplistic because I had a life of full travel and everything already. So now mine is deprogramming myself to just relax. My body don't like to relax. It don't feel good at all. It almost sends me into a panic attack and I'll tell my girlfriend, I got this to do to this. She say, just do what you can do for that day. So my living through it sometimes is, like Monique said, doing nothing, but being okay with that. And my other live through it is my foundation and helping someone that has been through what I've been through. I just finished a grief coaching course, so I'm going to be a life coach to help people live through it once I get through it myself. So I'm just doing the little things at a time, because if not, your pain will be in vain. Your trauma will be in vain. Like all the things that Mike is doing for veterans, I didn't know that about him either. I just thought he was the actor, the performer, and to know that he gives and do all these things. There are some quiet things about him that are actually really, really awesome. So I think giving back for me helps tremendously, but to also understand that I can't give back so much that I give myself away again.
Right. I think everyone should look into the definitions of PTSD, depression, postpartum psychosis, manic depression, schizophrenia. Becoming more aware, I think, of the illnesses and the symptoms may make you a little more capable of identifying certain things that may be happening to you or to someone else. That in and of itself is a treatment of a sort, because if you can catch it, if you're aware of it, if you see something happening or you're questioning what's going on with you, you're likely to seek help. And I think doing that early is vital to overcoming it. Also, I like DJ Miss 10, I tell people and I tell myself, do something that makes you happy. When you feel like, and sometimes that is doing nothing. Sometimes it's laying on the couch all day watching a movie or laying in bed going to sleep. But don't do that for 5 weeks. Go get you a mango drink if that's something you like. Travel somewhere if that's what makes you happy. Eat a slice of vanilla cake if that makes you happy. Those little wins, those little moments of happiness do chip at the negative feelings that we hold. Being with somebody, hugging somebody, whatever does it for you, that brings you a little bit of joy, it's worth doing. I never really smoked or drank, and after these tragedies occurred, I found myself looking for something to do. I wanted to smoke something. I was looking for, numbing. I thought about cocaine. I thought about. No. I started. I know. Right.
Call me the next time you think like that. Got something better.
These things are not what you want to do, but it made me realize how far one might go to find a way to relieve themselves of that pain. And so, sometimes the most destructive thing is sought after because you really trying to destroy that feeling. Really bad. So, with that being said, don't pursue the most negative outcomes.
I was hoping it.
I was gonna pull it back.
Is he telling us to? Any type of situation, but he's letting them know it can surely do the job. Do it a little bit. I was a little nervous there for a moment.
I am not encouraging cocaine use.
Rick James over here like cocaine is a hell of a drug.
That will make things far worse than they are. But it was just a way of me expressing how I understood where you could go, where your mind could go.
Yes.
Don't
so true.
do something to deal with it. So talking to someone, talking to a friend, I think for those who deal with sex abuse, it's good to talk about it. Tell somebody what happened to you. You've probably been holding it in for 10, 20 years. Say something about it. Say who did it. Tell your family what's happened. And a lot of people be surprised. They think no one will care. They think it's their fault because they've developed this idea from a young age, and find how much compassion there is for you to say what's happened. I want to encourage families just to deal with sex abuse for a brief second.
Please.
Families, if you are unwilling to call the police or tell the authorities about who did what, when, then deal with it yourselves. Deal with it as a family. Decide we all gonna come together and eradicate this problem. We're gonna address the issues that have happened, because people walking around thinking that they're crazy for thinking something is a mental exhaustion.
Yes.
It's a stress. And can create in the person an illness that would otherwise not exist if they could just say what happened and not be made to feel insane for doing it. So I just want to put that out there. There's so many things that we can do to prevent mental illness, and honestly, as at the child level, love is the greatest thing that you could give a kid to prevent them from growing up into an adult. Because a lot of our issues did not start 5-10 years ago. They've been with us a long time, and we're just reaching that level where we're done.
Right.
We can't take no more. We reached our capacity.
That's right.
Yes.
So find some happiness.
Yes.
Love on your babies.
I want to also add to what you're saying. That was wonderful. You know, if you're going to deal with it as a family, allow that person to speak and be loved and understood. But I also want to make it okay for each community, especially our community, to go see a therapist.
Yes.
Yeah.
To go to counseling.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
To go to group therapy.
Normalize
and not
it.
normalize
Normalize
it.
it.
Yes.
Especially for our black men, normalize
Yes.
being okay
Especially
with your
us.
feelings.
Especially us.
Yes. Yes.
Normalizing looking and saying, I just need to cry with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Normalize. It's okay.
Yes.
It's
Normalizing letting your boys cry and not
Yes.
teaching them as weak.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Normalize allowing them to express themselves. You know?
And talk to them.
And talk to
Yes.
them.
Have the conversation. Let them know. You know.
And we're going to normalize these type of podcasts as well.
Yes. Yes.
Because this is needed.
Yes.
And this
Yes.
is needed
That's what so
now
many of the comments were saying.
and going
It's
on.
brave.
Yeah.
And there's so
Yeah.
many topics that we can discuss.
Yeah.
The next topic will be what, sir? You started it.
Sex abuse.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
wait a
yeah.
minute, so many so many boys that go through it, or
Yes.
young men, and that you
It's
know
a
they're
big
just
problem.
not allowed to
big
say anything
problem.
about it. So I think that would be a good
I
one
think
for
it'll
the
be a
next
great.
one.
I think it'll be a great.
So there's
one.
going to be a next one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just putting it
All
out
right.
there because
Yeah, I was gonna talk to y'all about that afterwards.
Oh, but hey, let's normalize saying it out loud.
Yes. This is
I was gonna talk to y'all about it after we.
this is where
This
it's
has
at.
been amazing. This has been amazing, Mike. We could
Yes.
talk all day, but I know we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
But this was great.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invite. I really do.
indeed.
I really
you.
did appreciate
Oh,
it.
I appreciate
it
it.
and
Good on you.
love the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before we ride out, I would like everybody to kind of tell anybody if, where they can find you if they want to talk to you about any situation that they've heard today that can help them, because you do need someone you can speak to and somebody you can talk to. If you want to reach me, you already know I'm Andre Pico Train on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm Slim Goody 904. My nonprofit on Facebook is Rebuilding Unity Through Healing Hearts. And for the health, I'm having a health event on July the 10th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I've partnered with Noah Arks Project, where they fight against ceasefire, the ceasefire project on the east side of Jacksonville. They work directly for the mayor. So we've partnered up, and we'll have it at A. Philip Randolph Park. We'll start off with like a workout session for a whole hour. And it's going to be music, going to be fun and games for the kids. We're going to take it back to the old school and do some kickball, sack races, relay. And my purpose for that is I want families to come out like you and your son, to participate against another mother and son in sack racing and stuff like that, so we can give you prizes, but it'll show that to
Love the unity.
yeah, the unity and just having fun with your kid and playing with them the way we used to do back in the day, instead of sitting in the house on computers and stuff like that. So you can find all that. It'll be announced on Jack's News, as well as the radio station. So you'll hear about it. So please come out, enjoy, have fun. It'll be free food giveaway. It'll be coronavirus testing, as well as the virus, the shots. I forgot what you call it. The coronavirus shots. It'll be HIV testings out there. It'll be 3 buses, one with an HIV test. You can get it right then and there. And if you come in there and come out with a sad face, please just leave the park. Don't stay. But, that's a serious issue. Everybody need to get tested. Make sure you're HIV free. Don't be spreading that stuff around. There will also be other different health vendors, mental health vendors out there as well that you can get information from, that if you need help, it's free. It's free. You don't have to pay a price. I know back in the day we thought we had to pay a price.
Yeah,
it's
right.
free.
It's free.
So
wow. Okay.
they have stuff. So we want to bring awareness to that, because a lot of people don't know, that's going to cost too much. Nah, they get paid. But, they got organizations out there that will help you for free. They will give you a place to live. And I learned about the vapor acting thing through another podcast that I was watching. I never knew what it was until I watched the podcast. But we could talk about that on a later thing. But that's what I want to give out to you guys, and I pass it to everybody around so they can kind of tell.
So for the sake of time, can you add that in the comments, and also put in there the organizations that you sought out to help you cope with your PTSD? I didn't sound right when I said it. You see how much I avoid admitting that it's my diagnosis? Whatever that thing is y'all talking about today.
That thing would start with a P and with a D.
For me, real quick, you can reach me on all social media platforms at DJ Miss Tan. That's DJ MSTAN. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Google. But for my organization that I've started a group on Facebook, because I was going to put it under the Miss Tan Entertainment umbrella, but for LLC, 50C, 501c reasons, it's going to be under Jacoby's Heart. Okay. JOCOLBYS Heart. And you'll see it's a group that I'm starting. So if you want to join the movement to help any siblings who have lost a sibling, whether it be tragically or just, while they were young, I am going to start up programs where I'm going to focus on different age groups. We're going to have elementary first, and middle school, then high school, and then young adults. And because I am a DJ and I feel like music heals, we'll have different events where the kids can come in and meet each other. Because what I found out with my daughter was she was a senior in high school. She didn't want to bother her friends with it. Nobody would understand. So if she had the opportunity to be around other young people that had experienced what she had experienced, just like what we're talking about in her village, it's to help those siblings grow their village. And I tell you, I was at an event and I was talking about it, and a 60-year-old woman walked up to me and she was like, I lost my brother, he killed himself. And she was just crying, and she was like, nobody cares. But I lost my brother. That was my best friend. So I know that this now reaches from little kids all the way up to adults who have lost siblings. So Jacoby's Heart is my focus for PTSD and mental health month. JOCOLBYS Heart.
All right. Well, you can reach me, Smith Money, on Facebook, and my company is Blueprint for Intelligence, where I focus on the power of emotional intelligence. Blueprint for Intelligence LLC is actually on Instagram as well.
Is that together, Blueprint? Or is that 2 words?
One word.
One word.
Mm-hmm. Blueprint, the number 4, intelligence.
You can reach me at www.ironrockfilms.com. You can reach me on Facebook at Ithiel Yisrael. It's ITHIELLYIS as in Sam, RAEL. And you can reach me on IG at Ithiel, a.k.a. Telly, TELLI. I am inviting survivors, therapists, family members, anyone related to sex abuse trauma to get in touch with me. We do need a few more stories, some health experts and others to contribute either wisdom, experience, advice, or just information. My intention is to do what I can to help eradicate this from our society, because it's way too prevalent, and we're all reaping and sowing the after effects. And if we didn't have that in a way, I think we'd be a lot healthier. It's a tremendously huge problem, and I don't think we really understand how big it is.
Yes.
So I really want to get this doc out, and if anybody out there wants to help contribute to that in any way, even work behind the scenes, just get in touch with me and let me know.
All right, we're here for you.
I think that would be good for the next topic, and we can have a lot of people call in.
Yes.
JOCOLB.
Oh,
That's why I spelled them. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
These names, I tell you.
I'm sorry. Can you type it in?
No, it won't let me delete it. So just delete it and re-put it in there for you. But I already put it in there too, so we're good.
Okay. And I'm going to share everyone's information on my page as well, just in case.
Copy.
With your foundation as well.
Awesome.
This was amazing, guys.
Yes, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I can't wait until next time.
All right, guys. I guess we got to have a sign off some type of way because we're going to keep going.
We'll do like a radio station.
Go ahead.
You are now tuned in to Let's Talk About It. And as we end this session of PTSD and mental awareness this month, I want to say goodbye, good night, and we love you.
Man, you're obsessed with the word talk. Huh?
Yes.
Let's talk about it. It's just talk.
Thank you.
In the live. In the live.
And we're out of here. Peace.
Before we get on